We'll be starting the session in just a moment. If you have any connection or technical issues, try refreshing your browser first. If this doesn't work, please go to the Help Desk by clicking Sessions on the left, or click the People tab on the right and search Help Desk to send a private message. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 2020 Worlds of Flavor International Conference and Festival, and a special welcome to all of our presenter colleagues and others joining from Europe and the Mediterranean, Africa, Latin America, and Asia. And greetings to everyone who's joining from across the United States. I'm Greg Drescher, Vice President of Industry Leadership and Strategic Initiatives here at the CIA. And on behalf of everyone here at the college, it's an honor and a pleasure to have all of you with us to kick off this 22nd edition of Worlds of Flavor. This year's gathering of global culinary talent is taking place against the painful backdrop of a worldwide pandemic that has caused untold destruction and loss. Most of you have seen your businesses suffer. Far too many chefs and restaurateurs are living under great stress, not knowing what challenges the virus will throw at us yet this winter. But at some point, hopefully sooner than later, the global restaurant and hospitality industry will recover, and we know that your customers can hardly wait for that day when the dark cloud has been lifted and restaurants and food service can again become the secure focal point of so much joy for so many. For all of the culinary and allied professionals who are joining us for this year's conference, we wish you all good fortune and good health for you and your families, your colleagues, and your friends. 22 years ago, we launched the Worlds of Flavor Conference Series with a vision to celebrate and better understand the rich diversity of global food cultures, and to connect American chefs and culinary professionals with our counterparts around the world. As part of this, we wanted to help level the playing field among world cuisines and recognize culinary excellence wherever we find it, whether in celebrated Michelin-starred restaurants or in more casual neighborhood or regional restaurants, among hawker stalls and street food vendors, or in the kitchens of talented village cooks. And over the years, we've endeavored to highlight the nuances and the brilliance of tradition alongside the surprise and dazzle of innovation. In years past, our Worlds of Flavor conference has meant a spectacular festive gathering of global talent at one of our CIA campuses in the Napa Valley. Here's an image of CIA Greystone, the home of Worlds of Flavor for many, many years. Just last year, we moved the conference and festival to our new home at CIA Copia at the south end of the Napa Valley, pictured here. We hope you'll be able to join us for our next Worlds of Flavor conference in 2021 in November, assuming hopefully a green light on large gatherings and travel by then. But this year, when most of us have been confined to our homes or our home cities and towns, and when international travel has been just the stuff of memories and imagination, We are very pleased to be able to offer this virtual gathering, connecting all of us with each other, with chefs and culinary experts in more than 20 countries around the world. We hope you'll enjoy this year's Odyssey of Food, Flavor, and Culture we're calling World Kitchens, World Tables, a celebration of chefs and community. We're very pleased to be able to make this year's Worlds of Flavor Conference available to culinary professionals tuition-free, and for that we are most grateful to this year's sponsors. You will have an opportunity to meet them throughout the conference during our networking receptions and in the sponsor expo, and I hope you will all take the time to talk to each of them and let them know how much we appreciate their support of this vital industry gathering now 22 years strong. I want to start by thanking Woodstone, our premier gold sponsor, and our gold sponsors Smithfield, Culinary, and Kikkoman. And I want to just pause here to give a shout out and a big thank you to all of our friends at Kikkoman who've sponsored every Worlds of Flavor conference for the last 22 years. Thanks also to our silver sponsor, Nestle Professional, and to our bronze sponsors, Avalle, Clean Sui, and Olive Oils from Spain. Our supporting sponsors include Dole, NAFEM, Northern Canola Growers, and Yandu. Thanks also to our corporate sponsors, including California Avocados, Jasper, Rationale, and Olvac, and our media sponsors, Flavor in the Menu and Plate. Now it's my pleasure to introduce my colleague, Anne McBride, who will give us an overview of this year's program and get us started with the first session. Anne is our longstanding program director for the Worlds of Flavor Conference series. She is an author, a food studies scholar with her PhD from New York University, and most recently deputy director of the Torribera Mediterranean Center, a joint project of the CIA and the University of Barcelona. Anne, welcome, and over to you.
Great, thank you so much, Greg. Welcome, everyone. It's a real pleasure to be spending the next 4 days with you for this unique edition of Worlds of Flavor. While I am sad to not be running into you all in the halls of Copia and getting to enjoy tasty bites at the marketplace, I am comforted by the fact that this week will allow us to visit so many Worlds of Flavor friends, old and new, on their home turfs. Presenters bring their world to us when they come to California, with videos, photos, and their food, of course. The weird circumstances of this year allow us a much more intimate glimpse in many ways into their lives. They'll join us from kitchens, offices, living rooms, guest rooms, rooftops. Some of our presenters are back in confinement, while others have been able to resume lives a little closer to normal. We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about this extraordinarily strong and hopeful community that is the food community. World Kitchens, World Tables, a celebration of chefs and community. When it became clear in late June that our 22nd Worlds of Flavor would be virtual, we decided it needed a special theme, one that would allow us to reflect on the times we're going through, but also one that allows us to celebrate everything that this industry achieves on a daily basis with an eye to the future. The sessions you'll see are as much about escapism for today as they are about inspiration for tomorrow. Community has never felt like a more important word. It's also a word that has different meanings for different people. Community might refer to your professional network, or it might refer to your neighborhood, or to your people, the ones you can most count on and most want to support. Every one of our actions can impact our communities in both good and bad ways more than ever. Chefs, cooks, servers, farmers, fishermen, artisans have struggled equally, exposing the fragile system upon which the food service industry has long relied. We're rebuilding, rethinking, recasting to be stronger than ever before and to be better than we were, because let's admit it, we were not always great. Amidst the uncertainty of the last few months, what has been certain, what we can always rely on, is the creativity, passion, dedication, hard work, and ingenuity of chefs. Cooking has always been a challenging industry. More than ever, chefs have poured their hearts and minds into finding new ways to take care of others. From turning dining rooms into grocery stores and reinventing dishes to fit new delivery formats, to opening community kitchens to feed healthcare workers and those in need around them, and turning sidewalks into safe and welcoming dining spaces, creative has taken on meanings much beyond what goes on the menu. And through it all, creating the most delicious food possible and making it accessible to an audience broader than before, in no small part because of changing economic and tourism business realities, has been top of mind for chefs the world over, digging deep in traditional repertoires to both find and provide comfort and experimenting with the ingredients of a forcibly changed supply chain. World Kitchens, World Tables will celebrate all of this: the creativity, the resilience, the power, the collaboration, the ingenuity, the relentlessness, the need for change, the tenacity, the passion, the deliciousness, the tradition, the innovation. This virtual platform is also allowing presenters to join us who would never be able to take a week off to come to Napa. Our world is both smaller because it fits on the screen, but also much bigger than it's ever been. And we hope that's how you'll feel this week as we travel to Ontario, Canada, the French Côte d'Azur, the Catalan coast, Marrakesh, Oaxaca, Tokyo, Istanbul, Lagos, Nigeria, and Accra, Ghana. And by the way, all of this, that's just in the next 2 hours. Presenters will also transport us to rural North Carolina and Asheville, the disappearing Louisiana bayous, Uganda via Jamaica, Paris, Ukraine via London, Brazil, Northern California, the Spanish Basque Country, Andalusia, Mallorca, Singapore, Peru, Bali, Mexico City, Bangkok, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, and Colombo, Sri Lanka. On Friday, we'll have a global flatbread cook-along, during which you'll get to make naan and pide and their fillings alongside our presenters. Make sure you make your dough on Thursday night because it needs to rest. And we have important panels, one focused on reinvention at a time of constant change and the entrepreneurial chops this requires, and one focused on chefs as change makers in their communities. Both panels with people who have navigated the challenges of the last few months as deftly as has been possible. And first at Worlds of Flavor, our incredible CIA students are joining the program. On Thursday, students from the Global Spoon Club will share their perspective on world cuisine, and on Friday, they will conduct a cooking demo. And let's not forget a live demo of an all-plan-forward menu, cocktail included, perspectives on breakfast, barbecue, and snacks, and pop-up sessions on creative uses of gazpacho, the latest in olive oil research, and independent restaurants as neighborhood heartbeats. You'll also be able to dance and listen to music. This is Worlds of Flavor, even virtually. Tonight was the West African Cultural Arts Institute performers and their Guinean drumming and percussion performance. And Thursday, you'll get a flamenco lesson. 4 days full of knowledge, exploration, and fun await us. A few logistical notes. First, you can access recipes and videos at worldsofflavor.com. Look for 2020 resources on the tabs using the password you received this week. On a social media note, feel free to take screenshots and tag our presenters. Their Instagram handles are at the end of their bios on Hopin, and you can find that when you search people on the right-hand side of your screen. Use the hashtag CIAWOF and tag us too at CIA Industry Leadership on Instagram. We'll be reposting you throughout the week, so have at it. On an enticement note, we are giving you an extra chance to win very cool prizes with a special Worlds of Flavor scavenger hunt, which changes every day. So click on the link in the chat to access it and answer the questions. And last, we will have a whole range of polls for you every day. So head to the right of your screen to answer the first one, which asks if this is your first Worlds of Flavor, if you're a veteran, or anything in between. And I took a peek before. The first timers were ahead, and that was really wonderful to see that this is another silver lining of being virtual, is that more people can be with us. So no question, a very exciting week awaits us. All right, so let's get started. Our first session is one of food, culture, and discovery. Our presenters are shaped by their landscape, by their heritage, by migration. Culture in the sense of heritage and in the sense of cultivation are central to who they are and to how they approach food. We'll try to get some of your questions if time allows, so feel free to put them in the chat. Our very first presenter is joining us from her current home in Mississauga, Canada. Ozo Soko is a food explorer and geologist who focuses on the preservation of Nigerian and West African cuisine, notably through her 11-year-old blog, Kitchen Butterfly. Today, she will share culinary tradition from her native Nigeria. It is my great pleasure to welcome Ozo Soko.
Thank you very much, Anne. It's my pleasure to be here, sharing a bit of my culinary heritage. And yeah, thank you for the introduction. So, the recipe I'm going to share today has its roots in Nigerian street food. The interesting thing about it is that I've taken a dry rub and spice blend and turn that into a sauce. It's called Yajinkuli. That's the name of the spice blend. And for me, it demonstrates my approach to food and food culture. So a lot of the work that I do is centered in documenting and celebrating Nigerian and West African culinary history and heritage. And in doing that, I unearth a lot of traditional recipes, but I also try and explore contemporary expressions. I try to, in an exploratory manner, explore the gamut between what we've known and what I've grown up with and I'm comfortable with, and seeing how that inspiration, that memory merges with discovery, merges with things I'm learning about the world, and basically present that on a plate. Food for me is more than eating. It's everything that we love about it. It's nourishing, it's comforting, it has beautiful sensory characteristics, it's tactile. But what I also find more important, or just as important, is the unseen bits beyond the plate, the things that we don't think about. So the history, agriculture, and most importantly, connectedness. I found through my work with food that across the world, we're connected in more ways than we're different. And I hope that some of the things that we explore and enjoy in the next few days demonstrate that. And for me, it's a pleasure and a joy to be here. So a little bit about Yajinkuli, which is the central element in the dish I'll share. It's a Nigerian spice blend commonly used to season meat by men from northern Nigeria. So the men from northern Nigeria are really experts in the preservation and in the preparation of meat. And some of that you'll actually see evidence of in Brazil, because there's a connection between Nigeria, West Africa, and Brazil through the transatlantic slave trade. But this suya was one of those things that growing up I never learned to make, because you would always find a suya man on a street corner near your house. I've never seen a woman sell suya. So there's also a very gender specific recipe. But you'll find suya men everywhere. So there was never any need for me to learn how to make it. The first time I learned how to make what my children will call a B-Tech or bootleg version was when I was living abroad in the Netherlands. And I didn't have this dry rub. So I used peanut butter. Essentially, Yajinkuli is one blend in a family of spice blends called Yaji, named after a 14th century northern Nigeria ruler. And I used peanut butter instead of a dried peanut powder that is normally used. But it came out okay. And then over the years, I've been thinking about how do I take those same flavors and use them to rim a glass, to make a michelada, or incorporate it into a sauce, or toss some into some bread dough. And again, like I shared, that is my approach. It's respecting, honoring, giving credit to the traditional, and building on that to explore contemporary takes. So what I'll do is I'll talk you through a 5-step video, which we can watch now. And let's go. So it's grilled lettuce, charred corn salsa with a Yajinkuli sauce. And this is what it looks like. Now, the first step is to combine spices and roasted peanut butter powder. So on the right, you have a mix of spices: cayenne, ginger powder, garlic powder, salt, sweet paprika. And then I have specific West African spices, grains of paradise, which we call alligator pepper, and grains of selim. They add a bit of complexity to the blend. And then there's also ground cloves. Now, typically, this spice blend would be made with whole spices, not ground spices. But I'm at home, my blender in my rental can't handle whole spices, so that's what I've gone for. Step 2 is making the sauce. And we need coconut sugar, coconut milk, and the yajin kuli. So we start off with caramelizing coconut sugar in a pan. And then once that caramelizes a touch, I add my coconut milk. I follow with the yajin kuli powder. And it makes this thick peanut butter sauce that I cut through with a bit of lime juice. And you can thin with coconut water or additional coconut milk if you like. The next step is to char the vegetables to make the salsa. I like to make this a couple of days before because I find that the flavor is much improved. So some corn, tomatoes, onions, peppers, sweet peppers, jalapenos, and I just basically chop that all up, add some cilantro, some lime juice, lime zest, and then I leave that to rest. It's great on the day, but I prefer it a couple of days before. Now, grilled lettuce for me is bringing a bit of the char-grilled suya smoke that you'd get from the street food and just doing it with lettuce. I find that I love grilled lettuce. Last step is an assembly, and it's really easy. Some sauce on the plate, the grilled lettuce, a few spoonfuls of the salsa, some chopped peanuts, a bit of lime, wedge of lime, and that's it. And what I like is that it really captures, for me, in a very contemporary way, the flavors of the streets of Nigeria. And for someone who's away from home in these difficult times, that brings me a lot of comfort.
And this is interesting because often when we leave home, we become much more traditionalist about our foods, right? How do you reconcile that?
I think by virtue of the kind of life and work I've done over the last 20 years, I'm an exploration geologist. So we're always about discovery, about looking for, about learning. But for me, it's always anchored and rooted in the history and in the heritage. It's one of the ways that I make sense of the world and find joy. Being able to see that these ingredients that I've only known in a certain way have a lot more possibility. And for me, it actually opens up worlds of flavor.
Beautiful. And it is interesting because it's true that there are these dishes that we often don't dare touching. You're making me think of a Swiss cookie that is made with only one type of spice, but it would be so much better if you put other spices in it. And I haven't dared yet, but you're liberating me to why not just do it?
Good. I think for me, what happens is that on that journey, there's so many discoveries. And anything that shows us that one thing can have multiple dimensions is a gift, so let's take it.
Well, and it is important, and you know that very well, that this comes from deep historical and anthropological research that you're doing, right? Like this is not you just thinking, oh, I can do this, and that, and that's an important note. So, and as part of your research, you also do a lot of things around preservation of food. Is that something that is typical of Nigeria or typical to you?
I think it's both. I grew up with my dad, who was an avid cook, doing everything with fruits, like using almost all the parts of a fruit or vegetable. And that sowed a seed. And then growing up, experiencing other aspects of the Nigerian kitchen in various parts of Nigeria, a lot of things are rooted in preservation. For instance, yajin kuli is the byproduct of pressing out peanut oil. Right. So the process of pressing out peanut oil in Nigeria is you get the peanuts, you grind them. In the north of Nigeria, they add spices and wet the peanuts. And that process, they knead and press, and the oil is expressed. Now, rather than discarding the peanut crumbs left. That's formed into cookies or shapes, deep fried in the peanut oil, because for some chemical reason, it stabilizes the fats and stops that form of a peanut dough from going rancid. And that's what's ground and incorporated with other spices to making the spice blend. So the very heart of the Nigerian kitchen is about preservation.
And we have a question coming in from the audience. The complexity of the sauce is very intriguing, Sue says. Where can we get bird of paradise?
So grains of paradise, honestly, most spice shops in North America and in Europe stock grains of paradise. In Nigeria, we call it alligator pepper because the pod has gnarled, bumpy skin like that of an alligator, but grains of paradise is the standard.
Is it a long pepper also, the way you find in some, when you say alligator pepper?
No, it's not. So the grains of paradise are actually small seeds that resemble, what do they resemble? They're small seeds that resemble, not. Have you seen millet? So imagine if a millet was enlarged a bit. So they look like little tiny pyramids, dark reddish brown, but they're very common online and in spice shops.
I've seen them on the giants that will not be named also for anyone. And we have a question from Emma. How long do you grill the lettuce to get the desired flavor and avoid burning?
So in a cast iron pan, typically 2 or 3 minutes each side, but I cook it on medium to high heat, so about a 6 to 8 on a scale of 10, and 2 to 3 minutes. But again, it would depend on how hot your stovetop is. You could actually do it on the grill. And the point is, I like it when the lettuce has the char marks, so a bit of black, and it softens a bit, but it's not completely limp. And what that does is it really, you get a bit of crunch still, but you also get, the soft, smoky flavors from the char grilling. It's actually one of my favorite things of the quarantine.
To have grilled lettuce?
Grilled lettuce.
Which seafood would you recommend if the sauce can be used with seafood?
Prawns work really well, as do, white fish. I've tried the Yajinkuli blend and the sauce with salmon, with sea bass, with tilapia, with lobster. But the one thing I like about is that it also makes the most amazing grilled mushrooms. Oyster mushrooms coated in a bit of olive oil or brown butter, tossed into the dry Yajinkuli spice, not the sauce now, into the spice blend, grilled 15 minutes at 200 centigrade or Celsius. It is amazing.
It sounds like it.
Again, that's the beauty of this spice blend for me. It's if I restricted myself to using it only on beef, then there's a whole range that I miss.
I'm going to combine our last two questions. So they both pertain to peanut. Can you make a version of peanut powder by pureeing roasted peanuts? And the other one is, what would you recommend as a substitute for those with a peanut allergy?
Okay. So, first of all, you can buy already defatted peanut powder in many online stores. So you don't have to make your own if you don't want to. I've also made it with peanut butter as well. Now, with a peanut allergy, I'd say, what nuts do you like? I've considered trying it with chestnut flour, if I can find, because chestnut flour has a bit of sweetness. I've done it also with ground sesame seeds and peanuts. The key thing is, because the spices that go in with it also bring a lot of dimension to the flavor, you can use other nuts if you like. Yeah.
Great. This is a wonderful note to end on. Ozos, anytime I talk to you, I wish I had hours, and it's never enough because you always have so many ideas. Thank you so, so much for sharing Nigeria with us, for sharing you and your story and your interpretation of it with us.
Thank you very much, Anne, for having me. And I'm going to join the audience now. Bye, everyone.
Bye, Ozos. Thank you. I encourage everyone to read your blog and to follow you on Instagram. At Ozo's handle is Kitchen Butterfly, because the inspiration will be nonstop, as you can see from what Ozo shared with us in just a few minutes. Our next presenter, who is joining us from San Pol de Mar, a charming beach town just north of Barcelona, is nothing short of a legend. Carme Ruscalleda is one of the few women to have received 3 Michelin stars for her restaurant Sant Pau, which she closed in 2018. She also opened in Tokyo and Barcelona, has written numerous books, and has made a mission to combine gastronomy and health. She is joined by her translator, Santi Mas de Chachas of the Torribera Mediterranean Center. Please welcome Carme Ruscalleda. Benvinguts, Carme i Santi.
Hola, moltes gràcies, de sèrio, ens fa molta il·lusió ser aquí amb vosaltres.
Thank you very much. We are extremely happy to be here with you tonight.
Bé, hem portat unes imatges que demanarem que les aneu posant per anar desgranant tot aquest discurs i aquesta passió que hi ha al darrere. Per tant, us demanaria la imatge 1, Sant Pol de Mar.
Okay, we have bring some images to share with you the emotion and the feeling from Sant Pol de Mar, so we will be asking you to move to the first picture.
Bé, defenso que el lloc on hem nascut modula notablement el nostre caràcter, la nostra manera d'entendre el món. És el lloc on aprenem a parlar, a expressar-nos. Aprenem també a menjar, a valorar i estimar els aliments, la cultura del lloc, també la gastronomia. Un aprenentatge que ens acompanyarà tota la vida.
I defend that the place where we were born notably shapes our character, our way to understand the world. It is the place where we learn to speak, to express ourselves, and also where we learn to eat, to value and to love the foods, the culture of the place, its gastronomy, a learning that will accompany us for all of our life.
Soc filla d'una família pagesa i comerciant. Soc d'una generació que les nenes rebien una formació acadèmica inferior als nens. Aquest és el meu cas. A casa meva em van educar per casar-me i seguir el meu home, però els déus de la humanitat m'han beneït i m'han donat un home que m'ha seguit a mi. Em vaig casar l'any 1975 amb un veí de Sant Pol de Mar, Antoni Balam. Ell vivia a tan sols 50 metres de casa meva i en casar-nos ell es va incorporar a la botiga familiar dels meus pares, una botiga que nosaltres la vàrem anar convertint en un delicatessen d'èxit comarcal.
I am the daughter of a peasant and a merchant family. I'm of a generation where girls receive less academic training than boys. This is my case. At home, I was educated to marry and follow my man, but the gods of humanity blessed me with a man who has followed me. I married in 1975 with a neighbor from Sant Pol de Mar, Toni Balam. He lived only 50 meters from my house, and when we got married, he started to work in my parents' store, a store that the two of us turned in a successful local delicatessen.
La botiga, en el camí delicatessen, se'ns va fer curt, escanyat. El nostre client, amb el menjar per emportar, no volia complicacions, volia una safata i prou. I, en canvi, nosaltres anàvem avançant cap a una cuina més lliure, amb més detalls. Per això vam sentir la força dels emprenedors per comprar l'antic hostal Sant Pau, que era davant mateix de la botiga. L'estiu de l'any 1988 vam obrir el nostre projecte, un restaurant gastronòmic davant mateix de la botiga i davant del mar.
The store in the Delicatessen Road became short, a struggle. Our client with the takeaway did not want complications, wanted just a tray and that's it. Instead, we were moving towards a kitchen more free and with more details, which is why we felt the strength of the entrepreneurs to buy an old hostel in front of the store, Hostal Sant Pau, and in the summer of 1998, opened our project, a gastronomic restaurant in front of the store and of the sea.
La nostra cuina sempre s'ha distingit per apostar per la naturalesa. Una cuina que s'inspira en la tradició, la converteix en més elegant, més gourmet, més lleugera, sense artificis químics. Abans, quan em demanaven que definís la meva cuina, els deia que era una cuina catalana i moderna, per ubicació, formació, productes i voluntat de fer-la moderna. Però, al cap dels anys, us puc dir que la meva cuina és natural, lliure i emocionant.
Our kitchen has always been distinguished by its commitment to nature. A kitchen that is inspired by tradition makes it more elegant, more gourmet, more light, without chemical artifices. Before, when they asked me to define my kitchen, I told them that it was a Catalan and modern kitchen through our location, training, products, and willingness to make it modern. But over the years, I can tell you what my cooking is: natural, free, and exciting.
Des del primer dia, el mercat de la comarca, els productes estacionals d'entorn, han estat i continuen estant inspiradors. Potser als anys 90 semblava una aposta massa tradicional, però actualment és una tendència moderna internacional.
From the first days, the market of the county, the seasonal products of the area have been and continue to be the inspiration. Perhaps in the 90s it seems too traditional bet, but today it is a modern international trend.
Vam començar a mesclar aliments amb llibertat i amb bon gust. Per exemple, en una amanida vam sumar-hi fruites, pètals, mató, greix de pernil i confitura per convertir-la en una expressió totalment nova.
We started mixing food with freedom and good taste. For example, in a salad we add fruits, petals, mató, a local fresh cheese, ham fat, and jam to make it totally a new expression.
Ens encanta descobrir tradicions oblidades, com per exemple utilitzar les fulles de figuera com una papillot per cuinar peix o carn i alhora, seguint l'estela de l'arbre de la figuera, acompanyar-ho amb figues salpebrades, secades i en pols i en salsa chutney.
We love to discover forgotten traditions, such as using fig leaves as a papillot to cook fish or meat, and at the same time follow the trail of the fig tree, accompany it with seasoned, dry, and power figs and a chutney sauce.
L'any 2004 vam obrir un segon restaurant Sant Pau a la ciutat de Tòquio. Ens va arribar una proposta molt interessant i la vam acceptar. Internet començava a ser una eina pels emprenedors i això ens va sumar la força per fer-ho. El que no sabíem és com la cultura japonesa entraria a les nostres vides. Actualment tenim un sentiment japonès que l'hem traslladat a la nostra cuina.
In 2004, we opened a second São Paulo restaurant in Tokyo. We received a very interesting proposal and we accepted. The internet was beginning to be a tool for entrepreneurs, and this gave us the strength to make it happen. What we didn't know was how the Japanese culture will enter in our lives. Today, we have a Japanese feeling that we have translated into our kitchen.
És molt important tenir idees, és molt important tenir inspiracions, però encara és més important portar-les a terme, executar-les. No quedar-se res per explorar, per tastar, per elaborar. El treball incansable de la recerca i de corregir prova-error és el timó de la nostra vida professional.
It is very important to have ideas. It is very important to have inspirations, but even more important to carry them out, to execute them, not to have anything left to explore, to taste, to elaborate. The tireless work of research and to correct trial and error is the rudder of our professional life.
Hem ofert menús degustació inspirats en altres arts, com el teatre, la literatura, el cinema, la pintura. La cuina, defensem, ha de ser bella i bonica, però és molt més important encara que sigui saborosa, que sigui molt fresca, ha de fer olor, ha de tenir sabor i textura, ha d'emocionar tots els valors organolèptics. La cuina, no ho oblidem, és un art per menjar. Els colors de Mondrian els aconseguim amb pebrots verds, vermells, grocs, olives verdes i brandada de bacallà.
We have offered tasting menus inspired by other arts, such as theater, literature, cinema, painting. The kitchen we defend has to be beautiful, but the most important is that it is very tasty, very fresh. It has to smell. It has to have flavor and texture. It has to move due to organoleptic values. Cooking, let's not forget it. It's art to be eaten. The colors of Mondrian, we get them from with green, red, and yellow peppers, black olives, and soft cut.
Aquesta és una inspiració d'un pintor, poeta i escultor local. Ell té l'estudi al Montnegre, des d'on aprecia l'horitzó mediterrani. Per això, aquestes postres són de color de la muntanya i del mar, farigola, romaní, avellanes, gelat d'aigua de mar.
This is an inspiration from a local painter, poet, sculptor. He has his studio in the Montnegre, from where he appreciates the Mediterranean horizon. That is why these desserts are made with mountain and sea flavors, thyme, rosemary, hazelnuts, and seawater ice cream.
El 2018 va tancar el Sant Pau a Sant Pol, a l'octubre del 2018, amb un staff de luxe. De fet, l'objectiu de la nostra vida, la d'Antoni i la meva, era poder treballar amb un staff especialitzat, com una orquestra filharmònica, i el nostre treball, després de 30 anys, ens ho va donar.
We closed the St. Paul in October 2018, with a luxury staff. In fact, our life object, Tony and mine, was to be able to work with a specialized staff as a philharmonic orchestra, and our work, after 30 years, gave it to us.
Continuem treballant a Tòquio. Ara, el Sant Pau s'ha traslladat en un nou emplaçament, dins de l'hotel Kitano. Hem tornat, doncs, a estrenar un nou espai, amb un staff que treballa amb il·lusió la cuina que neix a Sant Pol i que arriba a Tòquio.
We continue to work in Tokyo. Now, the St. Pau has moved to a new location inside the Hotel Kitano. So we have returned to open a new space with a staff that work with enthusiasm. The kitchen that is born in St. Paul arrives to Tokyo.
El 2009 vam obrir el restaurant Moments a Barcelona, dins de l'hotel Mandarín Oriental. Al front de l'estaff la dirigeix el nostre fill, el xef Raül Balam, Ruscalleda, oferint i apostant també per una cuina creativa i natural. Continuem treballant junts amb el fill. De fet, és qui porta a Tòquio les novetats gastronòmiques que neixen a la cuina estudi de Sant Pol de Mar.
In 2009, we opened the Momentos restaurant in Barcelona, inside the Hotel Mandarín Oriental. The staff is led and managed by our son, Raúl Balam Ruscalleda, offering and betting also on a creative and natural cuisine. We continue working together with our son. In fact, he's the one who brings to Tokyo the gastronomic novelties that are born in the studio kitchen of Sant Pol de Mar.
Felicitat! Aquest és el nostre darrer llibre. Mostra la trajectòria del Sant Pau a Sant Pol de Mar, a Tòquio, a Barcelona. Amb el títol volem suggerir que la felicitat és un sentiment curt i escàs, però si lluites i treballes cada dia per la vida que vols viure, el sentiment felicitat t'acompanya.
Happiness, this is our latest book, which shows the trajectory of St. Pau in St. Paul, Tokyo, and in Barcelona. With the title, we want to suggest that happiness is a short and scarce feeling. But if you fight and work every day for the life you want to live, the feeling of happiness accompanies you.
Estic disposada a respondre si sorgeix alguna pregunta. Santi, ja me la traduiràs. Gràcies.
I will be happy to answer any question that comes from the audience, and I will be happy to translate it also.
So I just want to say, first of all, that we have someone in the chat, Kim, who wrote in Catalan in the chat. So Karma will have to check afterwards because it's very rare at Worlds of Flavor.
Tenim algú que ha escrit al xat en català.
Sí?
O sigui,
que bé. Fantàstic, fantàstic. Catalans al món.
Yeah, well, Catalans to the world.
I have a question related to that. How do you explain Catalonia to people in Tokyo? Is your menu there more Japanese than Catalan?
La pregunta és com expliques Catalunya a la teva restaurant a Tòquio? És més un restaurant japonès que català?
No, és un restaurant totalment català. De fet, la proposta ens va arribar perquè portéssim aquest tros de Maresme a la ciutat de Tòquio. També us he de dir que els japonesos en saben molt de Catalunya. els agrada molt gaudir, els agrada molt la nostra zona, saben molt de la història del país. Per tant, ha estat fàcil fer-nos entendre. De fet, el concepte de la cuina catalana és un concepte molt japonès. Està basat en productes estacionals i que la cuina no els faci malbé, al contrari, que els posi en relleu.
So no, it hasn't been the case. So the proposal was precisely to bring a Catalan restaurant to Tokyo, and that's what they did. And Japanese, they know a lot about Catalonia. They know a lot about the history of Catalonia, and about and so it has been easy for Karma to translate her menus to Japan. And the concept of the restaurant, of the products and the menus are also very similar in Japan than in Catalonia.
Yeah, that's, if I understood a little bit, that the idea of seasonality and local that is so rooted in Catalonia is also so rooted in Japan, right?
Correct. Yeah, that's what she said.
So we have time for one final question in 1 minute. What makes you feel most Catalan these days with all these influences you have from around the world?
Què et fa sentir més catalana amb totes aquestes influències que tens de totes parts del món?
Bé, doncs em sento molt catalana quan em sento molt local. Jo visc en un poble molt petit que té costa, que té horta, que té muntanya, on mengem coses encara a la grega, a la romana, a l'àrab. Són el pòsit de totes les cultures que han arribat a Catalunya, que són vives encara i que ara formen part del nostre patrimoni cultural.
So I feel very Catalan where I feel local. I come from a very small town near the coastline, but also we have mountains in El Maresme. And I feel very local when we still have recipes and we cook at the Greek style, the Arab style, the Roman style, and all those are part of our local culture.
Great. Moltes gràcies, Carme.
Al contrari, un plaer. Un plaer.
Thank you very much. It has been a pleasure.
Moltes gràcies, Santi.
Gràcies a tu, Carme.
Thank you, Santi. Thank you both. We are now heading a little bit up the coast from Catalonia, staying over the Mediterranean to join Mauro Colagreco in Menton on the Côte d'Azur in France. Mauro, who is Argentine but has been calling France home for nearly 2 decades, is the chef d'honneur of Mirazur, which holds 3 Michelin stars and is still the reigning #1 restaurant on the world's 50 best list. Mauro will be doing our virtual version of a book signing afterwards, so you'll get plenty of chance to ask him questions. And we're going to first take a beautiful journey in the gardens of Mirazur. So let's roll the video.
Non. Il est plat? Ouais. Faut faire attention avec les oiseaux. 3 hectares. Ça. Ouais. Où on loue à la ville.
Chaque 2 jours, ça change. On a un jour qu'on va se concentrer surtout sur les raíces, les racines. Un jour qu'on va se concentrer sur les fleurs. Et un autre jour qu'on se concentre sur les feuilles. Et voilà, c'est un plus dans le travail. Et on travaille avec la lune, avec les constellations.
On prend les herbes aromatiques et des herbes qui poussent spontanées, comme la pimprenelle. Ça sert à donner un peu de goût noisette dans les plats. Aussi, on vient le matin pour ramasser des fleurs, mais il y a des fleurs qui ouvrent plutôt vers 11 h. Bon, après, on a des tachettes. On ramasse aussi. Et après, on fait une petite ramasse de graines, comme celle-là, les calendula. On ramasse les graines pour l'année suivante. Dans cette région méditerranéenne, dans l'été, il fait trop chaud et il y a très peu de pluie. Alors, on a besoin de pailler et garder l'humidité. Mais aussi, c'est pour garder la vie dans le sol, que c'est très important. Avoir des vers de terre, des insectes, la biodiversité qui s'installe ici. Nous, on aime bien donner cette couche de matière organique parce qu'après, dans l'hiver, avec l'eau et tout ça, ça va se dégrader. Les insectes et les vers de terre, ils vont manger ça. Ils vont faire du humus, ils vont faire un peu de sol. Et chaque année, on va avoir un petit millimètre de sol vivant qui va se rajouter à la couche de l'année dernière.
Ici, on a commencé de zéro, tout était à l'abandon et la terre elle était totalement stérile parce que comme elle était à l'abandon chaque année, pour contrôler les mauvaises herbes qui poussaient trop, ils mettaient des produits chimiques, des herbicides. Après, il y a des piqûres dans les feuilles, mais regarde ici, on va trouver une boule d'or. Avant, c'était impossible de faire pousser des légumes comme ça dans ces terrains. Ici, il y a une betterave. Les betteraves, on fait un plat au mirasure. En hiver, on va les enlever. On va les laisser en cave. Ils vont devenir des betteraves énormes. Voilà, parce qu'on va les replanter une deuxième année.
Tous les jardins ils sont en terrasse, restanque. Et on a la source d'eau bien sur la dernière terrasse d'en haut. C'est comme un iceberg. Nous, on voit que la pointe de la vie. Mais en fait, la vie, elle est dans le sol, vraiment. Et c'est ça qui nous soutient, même à nous, comme humains.
Menton, il est protégé par ces deux chaînes de montagnes. Et on crée des micro-parcelles, des micro-climats. Tiens, par exemple, dans une toute petite espace, et on va trouver des romarins, des lablettes, des tachettes, des piments, des poivrons, des échalotes, des cébettes.
Tu te sens plus maintenant paysan que chef des fois?
Des fois, oui. Le vrai travail, il est là. Après, ce qu'on fait en cuisine, c'est un peu... c'est bien, c'est important, mais c'est un peu des chichis.
Bonsoir, Mauro.
Bonsoir. Hello, everybody.
It's such a pleasure to have you with us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. It's such an honor to be with you tonight and to share our philosophy or style and our world.
Your restaurant is not currently open, right? Is there, with everything going on in France and confinement, do you think thinking forward that there's a way to do the caliber of food you're used to creating in a confinement situation?
So effectively, during the confinement, our kitchen is at rest, our team at home, and it's a totally different context. But creativity is an ever-present process. I believe that if you have a passion, this strength will find the means to express itself. Several times, the moment of inspiration is outside the kitchen. I believe that we must remain optimistic and facilitate ways to continue to develop our work and deepen our connection with our profession. These are moments that pose a real change for our sector. It's true. And it's precisely here that we are pushing more than ever to be more creative. Creativity for me has a deep connection with openness and flexibility.
And the garden has been a place of creativity, clearly, but gardens never stop. So what have you been doing with all of the produce?
No, like you see in the video, our garden is very special. In fact, we have 5 gardens, 5 hectares in total, and it's still really moving. And So one of the strongest things we saw during the confinement was this contrast between a war that stopped it and a nature that not only continued with their cycle, but also advanced significantly with this decline for human activity. During the first confinement here in France, we organized baskets with the product of the garden for the Mirasur team, that it was in springtime. And little by little, our neighbors also came to ask for the basket as well. This allows us to create other links and to open our garden to another type of activities as well. In these periods, the confinement now fall on autumn, which is a time of transition. Production is much lower than during the spring and summer. Now we prepare the crops of the next season. We rotate crops, and it's a totally different job as we do now. So for now, it's more we prepare the soil.
Mm-hmm. And you say in the video that what happens in the kitchen when you have such amazing ingredients as what comes from your garden is great and important, but also a bit of a fuss. Have the last 8 months changed what's important to you?
So this reflection that I make on the video is true before the confinement. It's true that during this health crisis, everything accelerates, and many of our feeling around priorities in our lives become more and more intense. But I have always had this feeling in front of the miracle of life and nature. All these beautiful things that evolve without our intervention, and that are at the bottom of any kinds of manipulation we can do afterwards. We cook are food handlers, but this is a second stage. The low point with the possibility of our intervention take place elsewhere, in the air, in the garden, in the goods, in the sea, everywhere. It is on the basis of this reflection that we have always worked, and that we have also introduced change to welcome our clients and to be able to transmit in a more direct way our relationship with nature and the world in our garden. We want the experience in Mirasur enable us to reflect on the importance of establishing a more harmonious relationship with our land, and to be open to perceive the constant exchange that take place between all those who live in our world.
I'm going to actually get you to talk about your menu and thinking of this idea of harmony. So when you reopened after the first wave of confinement, you completely switched your menu, and it now follows the lunar cycle, which means that if I come on a Tuesday, I may eat something completely different, all tasting menu, but a completely different tasting menu than if I come on a Saturday, because the lunar cycle will have changed. Can you explain that? Because it's so different.
Yes, it's during the first confinement, I couldn't imagine reopening Mirasur if nothing had happened. I had this desire to transmit the approach to the nature that I had during the confinement, and the thing that I had decayed as a result of being 3 months immersed in my garden. And then I had the idea to propose to my team to follow in the kitchen the same work and follow the calendar that we have been following for the last 4 years in our garden. That is to say, to cook and prepare the dish according to the rhythm of the biodynamic lunar calendar. It was a big change. In 15 days, we read through our menu and we elaborate a brand new proposal, a Cosmo cuisine, that brings us closer to the force of nature. The biodynamic calendar takes into account beneficial cosmic stimuli that act directly on the development of roots, leaves, flowers, and fruits. 4 formative forces linked to the different parts of the plant are represented: air for the roots, water for the leaves, air for the flowers, and fire for the fruits. They vary each day according to the position of the moon in the sky and determine the moment when the energy will be more favorable of concentrate in each part of the plant. In this new stage of Mirasure, the team have developed a cuisine in 4 variations resulting from this calendar. Depending on the day of the arrival at the restaurant, customer will be immersed in one of the 4 experiences: root, leaves, flowers, or fruits. And it's a huge work because some weeks we have the 4 menus. So depend on the moon, because every phase of the moon during approximately 2 or 3 days maximum. So, but it's how beautiful the emotion of the people when we approach this message and we approach the people with the nature is so beautiful.
And it's even beautiful. I was looking at the website, and we can't reserve right now, but I invite you all to go see, because when you're making your reservation, you're picking, and there's beautiful illustrations that illustrate the roots or the leaves. So even that first experience with the restaurant is beautiful like that.
Yes, and it's a strong message after all how we pass this time, and it's. I will speak perhaps in French, and you can translate me because it's difficult for me in English. Mais le message c'est très fort pendant ces temps si difficiles, mais qui nous a permis quand même d'avoir une approche très forte vers la nature et de nous resensibiliser par des choses qu'on a laissé de comprendre. On a oublié, on a laissé de suivre, comme le cycle lunaire, l'impact de la Lune dans la nature et comment la nature, elle réagit comme un tout. Et c'est ça plus beau.
Attendez, il faut que je traduise avant d'avoir tout perdu.
Yeah.
So it's a very strong message that in such difficult times, there's a very strong approach towards nature, and it's resensibilizing ourselves to things that we forgot, basically, that we forgot to understand. So including the impact of the moon on nature and on that cycle.
Yes, et comprendre la nature comme un tout et faire partie de ce tout, des choses que par la vitesse avec laquelle on vit, la vitesse que notre société telle qu'on l'a construit, on s'est éloigné énormément. Et donc, après les confinements, j'ai eu ce besoin de tout renouveler et de repartir de zéro, parce qu'on a créé 4 menus totalement différents avec des nouvelles recettes, avec d'une approche totalement différente, mais parce que j'avais besoin de donner un message fort à mes clients.
So this is about understanding nature as a whole, and in the very fast pace of society that we're currently living, that we go away from all of that. So it's about during the time of confinement, Mauro had the opportunity to just start everything from scratch, basically, and create these 4 menus from zero and renew everything. And the word renew is important. And so that's a need that he needed to communicate very forcefully to his customers also. And Mauro, je suis désolée, mais on n'a plus de temps.
Yeah,
So we are out of time with Mauro here, and Ozos wants to talk to you, who presented before, about the lemons from Menton. So Ozos, I hope that you can join Mauro in his Meet the Author, which is taking place now, and all of you can go also as soon as the break opens, and you can talk about lemons. Merci beaucoup, Mauro, for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So what a treat, really. I have to collect myself to have these three incredibly talented and generous people to start us off. So as I mentioned, Mauro is staying with us for the Meet the Author. So you can join him there in a few minutes and ask him questions. And a reminder that you can find recipes and videos from our presenters on the resource page of worldsofflavor.com under 2020 resources. Meet the Author is only one of the features of our networking opportunity and sponsor expo, which is starting shortly. For the next 20 minutes, you'll have many ways to connect in real time with colleagues and meet our generous sponsors. You can access these features on the live of your screen once they go live. And we encourage you throughout to share your audio and video and pop up on the screens of the various rooms you'll visit. These interactive experiences make the CIA's virtual conferences truly special and expand both the knowledge you gain by attending, since you get to talk more with people, and your professional network. This first networking opportunity comes to us courtesy of Smithfield Culinary, and we hope that you all made the chorizo breakfast bowl recipe you received in your conference packet. We encourage you to sign up for samples and virtual tasting opportunities with our sponsors, as you can see on this slide. And you should all take 4 minutes for a very fun professional blind date. If you click the networking button, you get paired with another randomly selected attendee. Don't worry, we help you start the conversation by providing a networking topic each day. And today's topic is, what is the next food-focused trip you are going to take once you can travel again? We're celebrating our wonderful community of chefs this week, and in the spirit more than ever, we want you to participate in as many activities as possible. So by partaking in all the networking opportunities offered, you get entered in a raffle for fabulous prizes every day. And if you participate every day of the conference, you'll get entered in a raffle to win registration and travel to Napa for the 2021 Worlds of Flavor. Here is a full schedule of the itinerary featured in the Sponsor Expo to help guide your journey. So next, network away and see you back here at 2:25 Pacific and 5:25 Eastern, and enjoy.